So again, welcome to this YouTube channel, and I hope that at least one of the strategies we're about to share resonates with you and makes a difference in your life. Remember, take at least one bold step towards your goals. And be sure to watch the entire webinar, not only because we offer lots of great tips and advice, but because I also make a special offer.
And so self-awareness is good. It helps us to understand where we're at. But now we need to figure out where we're going. So how do we cope? What do you see? When you look at this image, what did you see first? We have 3 dots. Anyone sees a rabbit? So when I mentioned it, you started to see the rabbit, right? Great. So who's wrong? Am I wrong or are you wrong? Because I say it's a rabbit, but you said it was a duck first. Is somebody wrong? Vaughn is saying it's my seminar, so I'm right. The thing about it is perception, right? Right. No one is wrong. Different perspectives. And that's the truth about life as well. We can see the same situation and have 2 different perspectives. And that's the beauty of life. So sometimes with imposter syndrome, we feel like this will never get better. But there is another side. There's another perspective. There's always something else that we can do and another way of looking at things. Have you ever heard of the growth mindset? This is one of the most powerful tools, I'd say, in a psychologist's toolbox. And really what it is helping people realize, helping our clients realize that our mindset, it could be culturally, it could be just the way we've been taught. Things are not always yes or no, not always black and white, right? We saw 2 different things by looking at an image. And in life, we can do that as well. And so the growth mindset says, hey, we need to look at things a little differently. So fixed mindset says failure is a limit of my abilities, but the growth mindset says failure is an opportunity to grow. Fixed, they will think I am a fraud. You'll say, I'll do my best. I can't control what people think. I just get lucky. No, I put a lot of work and effort into what I do. I should know this. You'll learn. It is impossible to know it all. I mix the 2, but that's fine. I can't do this. Yes, this is difficult, but I will get through it. And of course, I must be perfect. Perfect is unrealistic. I'll give it my best. And so as your imposter syndrome comes knocking on the door, what I want you to do is to try to see it another way. We're going to flip it on its head, no longer a duck. We're going to flip it on its head. And now we're going to do the rabbit type of mentality, that growth mindset. Another thing is an affirmation. Now, we reap what we repeat. And I'll say that again so it sinks in. We reap what we repeat. If you constantly say, I can't do this, you won't get it done. Think about the last time you worked out. When you got extremely tired, tell me some of the things that you tell yourself. Not give up. Some positive things. So think about exercising, or if you're not really getting through with something. Do you ever notice you talk to yourself and you say something to yourself to help you push through? Almost there, one more push. Exactly. When physically I can do hard things, wonderful. So when we reach our physical limit, and most people actually do it when they exercise because it's physical, right? So we start to say, no, you can do this. Just keep pushing because you're talking to your bodies. Sometimes we take our thoughts as gospel, and that's not true. Sometimes our thoughts are incorrect. And remember, we reap what we repeat. So if you constantly say, I can't do this, just give up, you will. But your affirmations now, which I have here on the screen, what you're doing is you're kind of reprogramming your subconscious. Your subconscious, unfortunately, tends to be negative a lot. And what you're doing is you're reprogramming that subconscious so that you're automatically thinking about something positive or thinking about another way. And so one of the things that we can do is say an affirmation. The one I like is here. I'm worthy of good things happening to me. I am in spaces that I deserve to occupy. I can reach my goals. One of the things that I always say to my patients and my clients, go into the mirror. When you wake up on mornings, go into that mirror and speak positivity into your life. You reap what you repeat. If you're repeating negativity, that's what you're welcoming, right? Bad things can happen in your day. I'm not saying, be unrealistic, but what we want to do is to empower ourselves, and affirmations are a really, really powerful tool. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, I want you to go into that mirror and say some affirmations to start your day. Recognize your ability. You have done wonderful things, but when that imposter syndrome sets in, sometimes we forget. And so it's really good to have a list of all the things that you have achieved ready. If you I believe in journaling, I'll talk about it a little later. Write all the things that you have achieved to remind yourself when you're kind of in the pit of imposter syndrome. Listen, I've achieved great things. I can do this. It may be hard, but I can do this. Now, this is a funny one here, setting boundaries. We have to set boundaries with people, with time, and with our minds and our mouths sometimes. So with people, if you are feeling down, if you feel like your imposter syndrome is really getting to you, you know your friend groups, you know your family members, it is important for you to surround yourself with support. In that very moment, your friend that is a negative Nancy is not the person that you need. I'm not saying, Christa's not saying disown any friends. I'm saying that in that very moment, you need to surround yourself with some positivity. So sometimes it's setting boundaries with people. Have you ever met somebody who's just very negative all the time? Set a boundary. I'm sorry, I don't like when you say that, I'm going after my goal. That's not really helpful. Set boundaries. Also set boundaries with your time. If you're an entrepreneur, one of the things I always advise is to do a contract for yourself, because you have no start time or end time, right? Start time is when you wake up, end time is when you go to sleep. Set boundaries with your time. Even if you work for companies, some of us are working from home, and we think that when we, signed a contract for work, we seem to think sometimes that we signed away our mental health. No, we can't. We can't afford to do that. And so it's very important that you set boundaries with your time. One of the things I advise is a non-negotiable hour. Every day, try your best to have an hour for yourself, an hour to engage in self-care. That is going to be really, really important. I know we don't want to hear this, but if anything happens to you, in 5 business days, your post will be, an advertisement will go out for your post, right? And we don't like to think about it, but we need to. So I'm saying a question. So could setting boundaries be limiting information given? Once you realize that a person is negative, it may be good to limit information given. And that's true. That's really, really good, really, really good advice. Also set boundaries with how we speak and with our mind sometimes. When we realize that our thoughts are getting very negative, okay, it's time to do something for myself. It's time to do some type of self-care. I have a friend who said something so important to me, and I used to do it, but she put, she named something, and what she said is, when you do your goals, which is the next point, when you do your goals, you must have your power goals, right? Sometimes what we do is we set unrealistic goals. If your to-do list has 10 large things on it, you're setting yourself up for failure. And then sometimes when we're not getting it done, we go back and say, well, I failed, and the imposter syndrome comes. But sometimes by setting unrealistic expectations for ourselves and not giving ourselves time for our mental health, we're self-sabotaging. We're setting ourselves up for failure. So when you do your goals, make sure that they are attainable goals. Make sure they're goals that you know that you can actually commit to. One of the tips is to have 3 power goals each day. So you will have your usual goals, but these 3 power goals are things that you want to achieve before the day is finished. That way you're not overworking, because remember we talked about the over preparation. And so that's something that you want to limit as well. My favorite, celebrate small wins. Every day we are met with some type of negativity, and we don't counteract. We don't provide a balance. And celebrating small wins helps us to have a balance. This is what I want you to do. I want you guys to go into the chat, and I want you to tell me some of the things you have achieved. They can be big work things like changing jobs because you were absolutely miserable and finding your passion. It could be starting a new business. It could be juggling motherhood and work. Anything. Look at all these wonderful things that you're doing that you're able to achieve. But your imposter syndrome comes up, and sometimes we forget. And every day, I want to challenge you to just sit, like before you go to bed, think about, what did I achieve today? But you can't have achievement without fireworks. So for those who came in after we did it, I taught everybody fireworks. So what we're going to do, we're actually going to celebrate ourselves right now. Good. And so that's what we need to do. We really need to celebrate our wins. We need to create balance in our day. So we can't let our days just happen to us. Bad things will happen, negative things will happen. But what we want to do is to create a nice balance. If you've ever heard me speak before, you know that my go-to word is self-care. I think I talk about self-care a lot. And that's because on a personal level, and also as a therapist, I know the value of self-care. Self-care is not only the bubble bath that you see. Self-care is about listening to things or reading things that inspire you and creating a balance. Self-care is about, yes, those face routines, hair routines, taking a long shower, taking a break, and just going for a walk. And if you just do a quick Google search on some, or go on my page, I also have some stuff there on self-care. You'll see all these activities. Journaling is a very, very important tool as well. So remember I talked about that non-negotiable hour? Set that non-negotiable hour for yourself. Every day, try. And you put in an activity that's, able to lift you and to celebrate you. That's really what we're doing. Celebrating your awesomeness and taking care of yourself. Remember what I told you, if anything happens and you have to be off from work, your post will be advertised. And it's hard to take in sometimes, but you are replaceable at work. You are very, very replaceable. But there's spaces where you're not, and that's in your families, in your friend groups. And so we want to create a balance where you can spend some time enjoying life and thriving rather than just trying to survive, right? And so as I come to a close for my section, this is one of my favorite quotes. Self-care is giving the world the best of you instead of what is left of you. And that is very, very important. I want you to take care of yourselves. And that's how we really deal with imposter syndrome. Taking care of ourselves, reframing our thoughts, recognizing and celebrating our activities, and also setting boundaries. Now, of course, the tips I share today may give us a little jolt, may help some people. There are in fact some situations where imposter syndrome can be a little intense, and so therapy is a good option. But you know yourself, and so you sit and you think, is this something that I can work on, or do I need help? This is the therapy page that you can go to. So I think I have some stuff up, but I will post that there for everybody. And so now, as you know, I'm not doing this webinar by myself. And when I thought of the webinar, I know I can talk to you about how to cope. I can tell you about reflecting to find out, why you're feeling the way you do, or how you can internalize negative self-talk. But there's some strategy in our lives that we need. And I also know where my knowledge stops and where I need to learn. And while I pride myself on being strategic, there's nobody I know as strategic as Sade. And so I believe that if I'm going to do something, I want to give it my best. And so I asked Sade to join me here. And so she's going to talk to you, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Sade has lots of tips that can help as well. But she's also going to be sharing some information with you. And so it is my pleasure to introduce Sade, Jemmott to you, who will now do the second half of the webinar.